So thank you for those that have had a little go on Twitter. My phone's already buzzing a little bit. So I am recording the session. There'll hopefully be time for questions. If you do have questions, just put them in the comments and we can go through those at the end. So welcome, thank you for coming. Yes, there we go. So I just thought I'd start by saying a little bit about me. So I am a biochemist by background, and I'm lucky enough to now teach A-level biology and chemistry, and I actually teach in Hertfordshire in St Albans. I've quite enjoyed lockdown. I've got a little 10-month-old son, and I've enjoyed kind of hanging out with him a bit more. And over kind of lockdown, I feel my Twitter page has kind of changed into kind of a professional kind of teaching account. So I'd also kind of say that before kind of lockdown, I would have defined myself as a Twitter lurker. So this is someone who uses social media and you follow stuff, you read lots of stuff on there, but I kind of don't participate outwardly. I give very little kind of back to the kind of social media. And since lockdown, I think that's slowly starting to change, but it's been quite interesting, kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, so to say. So since lockdown, I've been spending a lot more time on Twitter, and I've been really inspired by the teaching community out there. The level of teamwork and collaboration from other teachers has been absolutely incredible. So many people have shared resources. So many people have recommended platforms and websites to use. They put Dropbox and Google Drives up there. And sorry, I'm just letting in a couple more people. And also, what's quite interesting with Twitter is that there's lots of educational hashtags out there that you can follow. So some of them out there, there's a Monday motivation one for teachers. There's a Tiny Voice Tuesdays where you can ask kind of teaching questions, which is good for kind of careers. There's a follow back Wednesday scheme. So if someone follows you, you follow them back. This has been slightly piggybacked by a science kind of one for connecting science teachers. There's a teacher 5 o'clock club. So for anyone who wakes up at 5 AM in the morning and doesn't know what to do with themselves, you can go on Twitter and talk to other people who are also awake. And there's also a couple where they actually kind of run live chats at various times in the week. So the ASE is the Association for Science Education, and on Monday at 8 PM, they do kind of a live chat room on Twitter. And Primary Rocks is another one about trying to promote primary teaching. So yeah, so they're kind of all kind of very interesting and to follow. So what is kind of my new hashtag that I've kind of decided to throw into the ring? So the concept of Teacher Tips Top 5 is to kind of just share like little golden nuggets of information with others. And the idea came to me when I was on a Zoom call with a couple of friends who both work in recruitment. So one of them has been doing it for years, and the other person has been doing it for less than 12 months. And the guy who's been doing it for 20 years, he showed a picture of his workspace at home. And he had a landscape set up for his desktop. And the other person said, "You really should turn that into a portrait setup." And he was like, "Why?" And he said, "We read CVs all day, and if you set up a portrait on your desktop, it's much easier to read the entire CV page in one go." And the person who's been doing it for years was just blown away at kind of how this tiny little tip would kind of turn around his kind of working day. So the idea of Teacher Top Tips is that I put out a question or a prompt, and all I want people to do is, first of all, connect. So you can build up a better learning personal learning network on your Twitter profile. I want people to kind of just share kind of good practice that they do. You don't need to put any context to it, you just throw it out. And finally, I want people to learn from others. So, you know, what are other teachers doing in your subject or your kind of year groups that could benefit you? And one other kind of little bonus aim is I kind of want this to be a tool to highlight the positives of the profession. We all know that teaching is very intense at times, it's hard, and I want this to kind of be a really useful tool and kind of highlight to others kind of good practice. So what sort of things do I want to ask? So I've kind of come up with 3 kind of broad areas that I can ask. I put out 1 post a week. It's a bit of a trial run at the moment this half term. And to make them as useful as possible, I've only focused on the top left. So I've tried to make them classroom and subject specific tips. I've got a big bank of questions. Some of them are a bit more kind of lighthearted and fun, such as what are your top 5 school trips? And others I feel could be quite good at various points in the year. So maybe in the run up to the holidays. We've just had Pride Month, so it might be nice to get kind of topical tips on what we can do in the classroom for stuff like that. When I ask these questions out on Twitter, I also kind of ask that people share their subject if they're a secondary school teacher, or their year group if they're a primary school teacher. And I feel the advantage of this is it kind of provides a little bit of a filter in the thread where you can kind of go, oh, this person does this subject like me, what are their tips? And also you then might want to kind of give them a follow. So why do I think that Twitter is a really good idea? So first of all, there's an incredibly strong teaching community out there on Twitter. I feel that sharing tips is quite low effort. It only takes about a minute to reply, maybe 2, but the potential gains are extremely high for people that read it. And you don't know kind of how far and wide those tips will go. Twitter relies on scrolling. So if you kind of put all the tips into one long thread, you can just kind of click on the tip at the end of the day and then just scroll down and get out of it what you want. Good tips will obviously come up very frequently, and this will highlight that they're very useful. But at the same time, other tips are never discredited. Someone has wanted to share that, so it's there for people to use as they will. So what have I kind of learned? So I've been trying this since half term, and I've discovered a useful tool on Twitter called Twitter Analytics, which is in the kind of settings on your profile. And it gives you a breakdown of your tweets over 28 days. So since I've started this, I've had about 74,000 impressions. So it's been seen 74,000 times. So this was the first week where I decided to ask, it's just after half term, what are the top 5 platforms that you've used in remote teaching? And I asked someone on Twitter who has 20,000 followers if they could retweet it, and they did. So that instantly got me on the Wednesday 10,000 views. The following week, I then asked what 5 kind of websites do you use for your subject? And I decided this time to tweet it on a Monday and see how that floated. But I didn't ask the person again for another retweet. I kind of wanted to see how it did on its own. And I thought for a Monday that was pretty good, obviously all back at school. So that got some, you know, almost about 10,000 again. The following week, I thought I'd try kind of a Saturday morning tweet. And this time I asked, what kind of top 5 things do people do to help unwind from this remote teaching? And I also, over the week, did a couple of retweets to try and help promote it as well. And this one kind of got the least interest in the process so far. And I don't know if that was the timing, or perhaps it was to do with the question, because it was kind of around well-being, and perhaps people are less willing to share. I'm not really sure. Week 4, I actually did 2 tips. So the first one I put out on a Sunday, and I asked just what are teachers' top 5 favorite lessons to teach? And Sunday was really good actually. I wondered if I hit the kind of the Monday blues and people are sitting at home on social media before going to school the next day. And then on the Wednesday, I put out a science specific teach tips top 5, and I slightly piggybacked on another hashtag, the follow back science. And this one, it absolutely exploded. It was a really interesting thread. Lots of science teachers got involved, and I think a lot of us all took a lot from it. So that was really fun. And finally, this week, my tip, again, I went for a Sunday evening and got again about 6,000 views. And I just kind of asked, what top 5 books do teachers recommend to their students for wider reading? So it's been quite an interesting journey, and I've definitely been enjoying it. Some weeks have been better than others for various reasons. But also what's useful to look at on this Twitter analytics, especially if you're a blogger, is the blue bars show how much of it was seen. The grey bars below show kind of how much people actually interacted with it, whether that would be a like or a retweet or actually kind of physically commented. And the grey bars are a lot lower than the blue bars. But people are still interacting with it, which is good. And the idea of this talk is to just kind of help promote it more. And hopefully you guys will get involved with it. So here's kind of what I've learned throughout my kind of journey of starting a new hashtag. So first of all, it feels a bit like a business. And I kind of feel myself taking advice from The Apprentice and kind of all the things that get thrown out there. So first of all, you must do your research. Is there already something out there on Twitter that is doing what you're doing? Does your hashtag already exist? Twitter works with hashtags, so there's lots of algorithms working behind them. So you want a good kind of hashtag that's easy to use. I talked about the idea with some colleagues at work, and they really liked it. They encouraged me, they gave me a bit of feedback. So that was really helpful. I read online that if you add a picture or a GIF or a video to a tweet, then people are kind of 35% more likely to interact with it, whether that would be to click on it and watch the video, you know, or actually reply to it. So I kind of made a logo as well, kind of, so all my tweets have a picture as well, just to kind of slow down that scrolling activity on Twitter. And I think finally, if you believe in it, just keep going. You kind of saw from the graph that it's been up and down. Some questions I think are going to get more interaction than others. But I think you've just got to kind of keep going, and hopefully it will just continue to grow. This was a really useful tweet that I saw about kind of what, as a teacher, you should be aware of. So there's lots of really useful tips in this list of 10, but I think 6 and 7 are probably the most kind of insightful. So don't kind of put anything on Twitter that you don't want your head to read. And also the same can be said for your students. So my Twitter profile is open, it's not private. So if these people look you up, you know, just make sure that you're happy with what they can read. Okay, and all these other tips are really good. So my Twitter profile has definitely turned into a kind of a professional education profile now. So yeah, and I've been really enjoying that. You can build a personal learning network. So this was a lovely tweet I just randomly got one week about someone saying, here's 10 people that have helped my week and spread positivity. And that was really nice to receive. I don't know who this person is, but it was just kind of lovely that really I'm helping make a difference. I asked a couple of teachers who have engaged with it each week just for like a quote. So Miss Kate Brown is an English teacher, and she's really enjoyed it. David Gash is a science teacher, and yeah, he's really enjoyed it. And again, it's just, I don't know who these people are, I've never met them, but it's been really nice to kind of connect with other kind of like-minded colleagues. So what can you do? So all I ask really is you give me a follow on Twitter, you like the Teacher Tips Top 5 tweets, you retweet them so they get seen more, share your own tips, and also don't forget to use the hashtag. I've found that people are really good at 1 and 2, but people are less good at 3 and 4. So please do share your own advice. I'm sure you've got lots to say. And also just remember to use the hashtag, because Twitter definitely kind of works through retweets and hashtags with all these kind of algorithms in the background. Moving forward, so this half term has been a bit of a trial run. I'd love to see more humanities subjects get involved. I've got a very big Twitter sphere of science teachers, but I would love kind of more humanities tips to be shared. And I don't think I've actually had any interaction from the primary sector. And I don't know if that's because I'm a secondary school teacher and I'm not pitching it correctly, or again, if they're not in my Twitter sphere. So thank you for listening. So for those of you that decided to have a little guess at what I was holding in my profile picture, the answer was a baby ostrich. So well done if anyone got that correct. I'm just going to have a look at the time and see if there's any time. We've possibly got a couple of minutes for any questions or feedback. You are always welcome to get in touch and give me questions, suggestions. I would happily receive kind of subject ones, not being only teaching science. If I get the chat up, not that familiar with Zoom. Can't actually find the chat. But yeah, that was my talk. If anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, that's fine. Nope. Okay, well, that is 1 o'clock. I only had 20 minutes. So thank you very much for coming. I still can't find the chat box. Ah, there it is. Got it. Thank you. Any questions? A notebook. Ah. Cool. Okay, well, I can't see any questions in the chat, so I will end it there. I hope you're all enjoying the Bucks CPD day, and stay safe.